Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl yesterday. I know that I did. I always do. I joke with my family and say that the Super Bowl is my favorite holiday of the year. Now, what I love is not just watching the players, but I love watching the coaches. I love watching how the coaches maximize the talent of their team in order to impact the outcome of the game. If you think about it, that's what you and I have to do as leaders. So, in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 super leadership development lessons to help you build super talented leaders. Hey guys, this is Mac Lake bringing you tips, tools, and techniques for developing leaders. Yesterday I was watching the Super Bowl and it reminded me that some of the best leadership developers in the world are football coaches. So today I want to share with you 3 super leadership development lessons for building the leaders around you. Lesson number 1 comes from Tony Dungy. It's this: build basic habits in order to build better leaders. Build basic habits in order to build better leaders. Tony Dungy wanted so bad to break into the NFL as a head coach, but he just couldn't land a job. He had interview after interview, but everybody kept telling him no. Here's why they would tell him no. When they would ask him what his coaching philosophy was, he would share it and they would look at him and go, no thank you, we'll go with somebody else. Here was his philosophy. Tony Dungy believes if you help the players develop habits based around the basic skills, you'll have better leaders and you'll have better outcomes. Now, here's what he says. Champions don't do extraordinary things. Champions do ordinary things. They just do it without thinking, which makes them faster. Dungy's philosophy was, let's take players, let's help them learn the basics so they become a habit that's ingrained in them, which means they will be able to move and think faster because they don't have to make the basic decisions every single time. So, Dungy finally landed a head coaching job with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 1996, the worst team in the league. I mean, it was terrible, but he took it. And, as we all know, he turned them around. And he turned them around by using his philosophy. He took the players, and over those early seasons, he drilled into them those basic habits for each of their positions. He would take each position, he would break down what are the basic habits that you need to know to get a great start for whatever your role is. And he would ingrain it in them again and again and again, making them practice the basics until they became a habit, until they didn't even have to think about it. And what happened? He turned the Bucs around. In fact, he led them to 10 consecutive seasons of playoffs. So his philosophy worked. I think we can learn a lot from it. As leaders, what we want to do is we want to develop the leaders around us and help them build those basic habits in their life so that they don't have to think about it. Just certain basic leadership habits are just ingrained in them. So for example, for leaders around me, I want to make sure that they have a spirit of encouragement, that they're always praising the progress of their team members. So I want to build into my leaders that habit of always catching people doing things right and encouraging them for it. So Tony Dungy taught the basics to his players and he turned them into super champions. You can do the same things with the leaders around you. Identify what those basic skills are, those basic competencies you want to see in the leaders around you, and drill it into them again and again and again, and you'll raise up some super talented leaders. The second lesson for building super talented leaders comes from Coach Hayden. It's find talent early and pour fuel on it fast. Find talent early and pour fuel on it fast. Coach Hayden coached the Iowa Hawkeyes for over 20 years. It became known as the Harvard of coaching because he produced so many coaches out of that program. Not just great players, but great coaches. A reporter asked him how he did it one time, and he said, well, I have to attribute that to my dad. My dad taught me the bell cow theory. And like, what in the world is the bell cow theory? He said, when I was growing up on a large farm in Texas, my dad would make me feed the cows before I go off to school. And he said, I would always complain, Dad, how in the world am I going to find these cows? They're spread out over 2,000 acres. And his dad told him this. He said, son, you just get in the truck and you drive around and you listen for a bell. Because what we did is we identified the lead cow. the cow that all other cows gathered around. We tied a bell around his neck. And all you have to do is drive around. When you hear that bell ringing, you're going to find not just that cow, you're going to find the entire herd. Well, that little technique impacted Coach Fry as a coach. So what he did was so unique. Nobody else was doing this. He would, early in the season, he would begin to watch the players in every single position, and he would see what player the other players were following. And then he would name that player as the player position coach. He would actually make them a player coach. And then they would be able to not only play their position, they would coach the other players in that position. And in doing so, he not only developed them as a player, he developed them as a coach. This is what we have to do. I mean, guys, think about it. We live in a society today where young leaders are exposed to so much more information than ever before. That means they have leadership potential that's unmatched than previous generations. We need to leverage that. So look around your organization. Begin to identify that bell cow leader, that leader that other people look to, even though they may not have the character and the competencies yet. Put yourself around them, begin to pour into them and develop them, and then give them leadership roles and responsibility. Give them tasks before you give them a big title, but give them leadership responsibility to begin to stretch that potential that is there. If you pour into that latent potential, you can leverage that and take them to new levels faster than they could just developing on their own. So, who is it in your organization that you can identify and pour fuel on fast? Lesson number 3 comes from Coach Bill Walsh, one of my favorites. Don't just develop leaders, develop developers. Several years ago, I was doing some research for a leadership talk I had to do. And so I was Googling leadership development, and I came across this image on Google, and it was an image of Bill Walsh's coaching tree. And when I saw it, it blew me away. It showed the coaches that Bill Walsh had produced and the coaches that those coaches had produced. And I was like, oh my goodness, I want a coaching tree for my life that has a spiritual impact for the kingdom. It got me thinking at a whole different level. So when you look at Bill Walsh, not only did he build a great team, he built some great coaches. Tony Dungy, Mike Holmgren, Mike Shanahan, Mike Tomlin, Lovie Smith. I mean, he had some great coaches come out of his program. And then those coaches have produced even more great coaches. In fact, in the 2013 NFL season, 28 out of 32 coaches are on Bill Walsh's coaching tree. That's amazing. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine a coaching tree for every leader in your organization. Imagine a coaching tree stemming from your life. Imagine this exponential development of leaders who are producing leaders. Guys, if we can do this, if we can help our leaders focus on not just developing leaders, but developing developers, it will change the long-term landscape, leadership landscape of your organization. And it will have a long-term impact on the health and vitality of your organization. So don't just focus on developing leaders, focus on developing developers. So guys, hey, I hope you have found some super practical lessons to help you build some super talented leaders from this video. Hey, if you like the video, make sure you click the like button. And if you'd like to receive videos like this every week, make sure you click the subscribe button. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope your team won, and I'll see you in the next video.